Hello there. You've clicked on this review because you played Persona 5 Royal and you enjoyed it so much that you're wondering if the older games are worth it. Especially with Persona 4 coming out in a couple weeks, you're wondering if it's worth your money. And I'm here to give you that answer. I finished playing Persona 4 Golden recently on stream, and I'm here to break down what they did better, what they did the same, and what they did worse in Persona 4 compared to Persona 5, as a Persona 5 mega fan myself. For the record, this will be a spoiler-free review of Persona 4 Golden. I will show nothing outside the first couple hours of the game. I will be spoiling a bit later on, but you'll get lots of notice beforehand. And finally, I'm going to assume that you've played and finished Persona 5 Royal, because that is what I'm going to compare this game to. Now we got that out of the way, onto the review. In Persona 4 Golden, you are a transfer student, coming from a major city and into a small middle-of-nowhere town. Here, you meet your uncle Dojima, a police detective, and your cousin Nanako, a roughly 6-year-old child that must be protected at all cost. On the first night of being there, you have a strange dream, where you fight some clouds and awaken to your persona. All well and good, right? Well, you wake up and you hear the news that there's a dead body and it's hanging outside on some telephone lines. That sends the town into a bit of a panic. You go to school and meet some new friends, Chie and Yukiko, who tell you about a midnight channel. If you watch the channel at midnight, you can see your soulmate. At least, that's what the rumours say. So that night you go and try it out and you notice that you can put your hand through the TV. Not to be confused with putting your hand through the TV, like when Anubis madooned me 1 hour deep into Futaba's palace when I haven't saved and I had to go back through all the puzzles again. But I mean like actually go inside the TV. And after all that, you go back to sleep and another dead body. Whoops. And now it's up to you. With the help of your newly acquired friends, you have to find out how everything is connected. Why are people getting murdered? What's with this strange fog cover in the town? Why did you get your persona? It's up to you to find the truth. What I just explained to you is what you get given within the first hours of the game. It sounds like a lot, I know, but it's quite literally scratching the surface. The game is so deep and I love it. The story throughout the game is full of twists and turns, second guesses and little hints throughout. It just always keeps you on your toes. There are a few bits that are predictable within the story, but there's a majority that isn't, and that's what I love. Again, no spoilers will be mentioned in this review, but there is a turning point in the game that, when it happens, you're just like, oh my god. And for me personally, it made me look back on the game in a completely different light. It's great. It's better than Persona 5's plot by an absolute mile. I personally found Persona 5's plot quite predictable. Everything seemed planned out, and I could guess that you were going to be fighting Shido at one point near the start. So, for me, none of the fake outs got me. Persona 4, however, through the many twists and turns and eurekas, I honestly did not know when the game would end or what we would be doing next. It's a roller coaster, and a big reason for that is the friends we made along the way. Look, I love the Persona 5 characters. They're charming, they're cool, they're stylish, and they can get quite deep with some of their personal troubles and conflicts. I always felt odd about one bit about them though. They don't seem to get along well with each other. Sure, there were some friendships with the group like Yusuke and Futaba, and Makoto and Haru, although I don't know how deep that actually went apart from schoolmates. Overall though, there wasn't a really good group connection. The Persona 4 people, however, they get along. They support each other through their struggles, everyone talks with everyone, and then there's this whole support circle going on within the group. They play like a huge band together instead of Persona 5's separate instruments that sometimes work with each other. And personally, the coolest part is that they will not hang out with you because they're hanging out with someone else in the party. How cool is that? Look, it sounds weird, I know, but it just feels way more natural. In Persona 5, you just feel like the priority. In Persona 4, however, it's way more of an actual friend group, with them hanging out and supporting everyone, and not just a protagonist fan club. In Persona 4, you pretty much learn about the characters in similar ways to Persona 5. You meet them, you learn their conflict, you see them struggling with the conflict, you break out the conflict, and then, yeah, but I feel like you get way more connected to their troubles, mostly due to the theming of the game. Persona 5 themes are about breaking out of society's cuffs, which is pretty much what every character is doing. An external force is holding them down and they are breaking out of it. Persona 4 characters, however, are struggling with very personal problems coming within, some external and some internal, and they still persist throughout the game's story and the social links, showing that they still struggle with themselves sometimes, but they are trying to accept it. At the end of Persona 4, I was pretty much cheering for everyone. There's a real good reason to like everyone in the cast, even though one of them can feel a bit pandering at times. I won't say who, but they annoyed me really quick. Persona 4's UI is a tricky one. It's charming. It's very charming and it's very thematic. And while you're in the TV fighting monsters, you always get reminded of that. With the UI resembling a TV and the menu is like you're switching channels, it's just so cool. It is, however, a slave to the base game though. In Persona 5, I feel like there's a real quality of life feature that goes unnoticed. It always shows you what the move will do. Because Persona 4 Golden was a PS2 and Vita game, it doesn't have enough room to show the text. Okay, fair enough, I understand that for its time. But now with the port coming to TVs and desktops and computers with much bigger screens, the text is massive and it won't use the room that's available. I know it's a port, but it would have been a real nice quality of life feature. The UI, however, still holds up in all other aspects. You can't really get lost in the menus as they're no more than a couple layers deep. They're quick, responsive, and show all the information that you want. It's neat. Okay, I just wanted to include this section, but I know that this is all personal preference. I prefer Persona 5's music. I prefer the jazz and rock compared to Persona 4's idol theme. Don't get me wrong, the music does fit Persona 4 well, and I do have some favourites out of them. For example, and this one. But this doesn't hit the same coolness for me as Persona 5's did. Life Will Change and Rivers in the Desert will always hold a special place in my heart, and I know it's the same for some others too, which is why I wanted to include it. Again, it's all down to personal preference, but that's just my opinion on it. So when writing the script, I had a whole section dedicated to general battles and how similar they were, apart from removing a couple of elemental attacks. But I realised that was the only sentence I wrote about it. So in a quick conclusion, P4 and P5's combat is the same apart from slight technical differences. Whatever you felt about Persona 5's combat, you'll feel about Persona 4's combat. What I really want to talk about though is the shuffle time feature. So at the end of every battle, there's a slight chance a shuffle time will appear. A shuffle time basically shows you 3 to 6 random cards dealt to you, and you need to choose a card to take. They can have effects like a new persona, more XP, more money, an item, HP and SP restore, stat changes, or a skill card. But they can also have negative effects, like reduced XP or losing your items and money. But Heart, I hear you cry on your mobile device or computer. Why would I take the bad one, when there are good ones? Here's where the system gets deep. Some cards come with a bonus, like 1 more or 2 more, which lets you pick more cards from the selection. If you manage to clear all the cards on the screen, you get a sweet bonus. Which means after your next battle, the shuffle time will come up guaranteed, and you'll always get 3 picks of cards instead of the 1. It's a strangely complex system, which really makes you manage your risk and reward. I personally found it good to try and hit a sweep as often as possible. But it did bite me once when I defeated a strong enemy only to be hit by a no XP card I had to take. I'm not too sure if I enjoy this over Persona 5's Demon Negotiation. With Persona 5 you can choose what you want, but here it's just all random. This is your main method of gathering Personas too, so you cannot guarantee what you're gonna get. And plus, as mentioned before, it does suck to be forced to pick something super detrimental. I do like the shuffle time system, but I really couldn't decide if I like P4's or P5's better. You cannot get the full experience of this game without referring to a guide. It's not like Persona 5 where you might be missing out on a social link or some interactions with someone or whatever. No. You can miss a whole dungeon, whole bosses and like the whole point of the game if you don't know what you're doing. The game will lead you down the wrong path a few times and you might not even know where you went wrong. To be completely fair, the game does give you some hints throughout. I'm willing to bet 95% of people just won't figure it out without a guide. I personally had to be pushed into the right direction by my Twitch chat while I was playing it. It's a bit frustrating having to rely on something external to get full enjoyment out of a game. And I know Persona 5 had the same thing, with having to max out Maruki, Akechi and Kasumi before a certain date, but Persona 4 has that and more. If you want to know who you need to max out before a certain date, I've written them out at the very bottom of the description. Everything else though, I'm not saying. Good luck out there. Okay, so for this next bit, I'm going to show and spoil some stuff that happens just after the second dungeon. It's not very far in the game, but I understand that if you don't want to hear it, you don't want to hear it. I just think that it's too important not to mention. So here's your spoiler warning, make sure to check the chapters to skip to the next part. Persona 4 Golden is an outdated game. From the graphics to the limited animation, it's an old game. It came out in 2008. Although sadly it keeps the ideologies of that era too. If you have seen any Persona 4 discourse in the past, it might have been around this character, Kanji Tatsumi. In the other version of himself on the TV, he's shown to be very flamboyant and wanting to hunt hunky men to get in a relationship with. Now, is Kanji gay? No. Then why does his dungeon look like this? Sadly, that's a spoiler. I cannot say. Is Kanji bisexual? You could probably make that argument. Does Atlas treat the situation poorly and the whole LGBTQ plus community by making them the butt of gay jokes? Yes. After the second dungeon, the school goes on a camping trip where Kanji, Yosuke and Yu share a tent. And Yosuke makes the comment of, "Are we going to be safe alone with you while they're trying to sleep?" Yikes. And they make similar jokes all throughout the game. It's not up to 2023 normalities and it reflects really badly on Atlas. Now, I don't want to get into the debate of true to original games versus updating to the modern standards of games. I think it's worth saying when they're re-releasing it in the current year. This game is very old-fashioned in a way that might bother some people. It's just worth pointing out. Persona 4 is very weird for me. If, from scratch, the game was made today, with modern standards, graphics, and some quality of life features, I would love this game. I would say it would easily blow Persona 5 out the water. Sadly, being a product of its time is really its greatest downfall. Although I am certain if you liked P5, you would like P4. And if you can get around the graphics and the quality of life downgrades, I bet you that you will love it way more than Persona 5. The characters and the story are just so good in this game. It's a genuine set of friends in a fascinating world with twists, turns, bumps, and a really cool experience throughout. And that's it. Thank you everyone for watching, and I hope this helped you make an informed decision on the next Persona game. If this helped, please leave a like and subscribe, it helps me out so much. Also, I'm going to be playing Persona 3 Portable on release day, so head over to my Twitch and drop me a follow, so you can watch me play. Thank you.